guys, it's Quana back again with another video. Hope you guys are doing awesome. So today I'm going to be breaking down episode 2 of Swarm on Amazon Prime. That episode is entitled Honey. If you haven't watched my episode 1 breakdown, click the link in the description or at the top of the screen. In this video, I'm going to be recapping and explaining the episode, so spoilers galore. So make sure that you have not only watched the episode, but again, you must have watched episode 1 or, check out my recap in case you're not up to speed on everything. If you are watching and returning, thank you so much for the love and support. If you're relatively new to my channel, I appreciate you so much. I am just a teacher, wife, mom who loves television and film. So your support means the world. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell because I'll be recapping each episode of the show. So let's get into episode 2, Honey. All right, so when we catch up with our girl Dre, she is at a strip club called The Lure, and she is full on the pole. This is definitely a drastic switch up from the sweet girl that we met at the beginning of episode 1, who was very innocent into the world. But we see that she's stripping, and she meets this guy. He comes into the club, and she starts inquiring about his friend. This guy's name is Reggie, and his friend, I guess, tells her that he's been out of town. He drives a truck, but he must be somebody that she is looking for. And later on in the episode, we find out all about Reggie. When she asks him who's the dude in the hat, we find out about him. Then when she goes into the back, I don't know if the Players Club was what was coming to mind, right? So she goes to the back. We find out that first of all, she's not doing a very good job of stripping because she's just dancing to Nija's songs, and they're like slow, sad songs, not even like upbeat, up-tempo, fast-paced, booty-shaking songs. And I was getting tons of Ronnie vibes from Players Club with her exchange with one of the girls. When we leave the club, she sees one of the other girls, who seemingly is a white girl. More about that later. And she's arguing with her boyfriend. When we get back to Dre's apartment, we see that she is online, and she is reading tweets from this Reggie guy and seeing that he is not a fan of Nija. So she starts basically putting out information looking for him, and her and other members of the Swarm are doxing this guy on the internet. So we see that she has dived deep into the hive mentality, but her place is a mess, like full on kind of like hoarding, trash vibes going on. But who shows up but the girl who we saw outside the club, arguing with her boyfriend outside of his kind of like faux pussy wagon reference truck there. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but that's what I was getting from the color of his truck with that yellow. And it definitely was giving me that Kill Bill reference, and also Beyonce and Lady Gaga telephone reference. I don't know if you're catching the vibes with that. There's more of that later on in the show. And this girl just shows up at her place and kind of infringes upon her, and they go out to get some food, and she finds out, this is where we first hear that Dre is now going by the name Carmen. I don't think that was like just a name that was picked out of a hat. I highly suspect that the name Carmen is a reference potentially to Carmen Sandiego. I don't know if you guys remember Carmen Sandiego, but Carmen Sandiego is a show / game about a spy who travels the world and you're looking for her. It was really super popular, I feel like, in like the early 90s. But anywho, I really felt like that might have been a reference to that, just like the idea that she's taking on these new personalities. But I digress. They start talking in the restaurant, and she finds out that this girl that she's been talking to, Haley, is actually black because she has a half black dad, and she goes by the stage name Halsey. They didn't have to do my girl Halsey like that. The actress playing Haley is none other than Paris Jackson herself, daughter of Michael Jackson. She's been dibbling and dabbling in acting for a while now. She actually was on Ryan Murphy's series spinoff from American Horror Story, American Horror Stories. So she was on that. But we go back with her to her boyfriend's place. Her boyfriend's name is Sir. Like the Beyonce references just coming. I don't know how I feel about that one per se. But Sir is played by Casey Mills, and he's working out listening to rap music with a big old yellow "Don't Tread on Me" flag on the wall. Yes, our boy is a member of the alt-right, probably not even realizing that he is dating a black girl. I digress. And we later on find out, they see them arguing this toxic relationship that they have going on. Haley shows back up unexpectedly at Dre's apartment and is like just imposing on her, eating food, laying in her bed, spending the night. And our girl Dre has had enough. So she's like, I gotta go get rid of Sir. So she kills Sir. And as Haley comes and sees her doing this, she actually like jumps in and helps out and is like, okay, cool, this is what we're doing now. Okay, I'm gonna ride with you, I'm gonna be with you, and we have this stuff and we need to go on the run, we need to go run to Canada. She mentions that she feels powerful like Halsey, and that is when Dre has just had too much, and unfortunately for Haley, she gotta go, and she takes her out, right? Then she goes back to the strip club where she sees the girls. She actually does a performance, and it's much better than the previous performance. And I think definitely that's something to talk about, like how these killings, she's feeding off of the endorphins of killing these people. We see her like actually becoming more confident on stage. And afterwards, the girls ask her to drive to a party that they're going to go to, again, giving me like Mad Players Club vibes. But also this is giving me like the Duke lacrosse team reference a little bit. They go to this party that is like from a bunch of college baseball players, and it's literally just a bunch of white boys running around in this hotel room with no clothes on, drawers out, sausages out, everything's out. Dre goes into the room to be by herself, and she's snacking on some pretzels and dip when this guy comes in, and he's like trying to be like, oh, you're a good girl, I'm a good guy, but can I get off to you? And she's like, yeah, you gotta pay me for it. And he literally gives her $1,000 just to be able to relieve himself in her presence while she's eating food. And she's just not fazed at all. She is just not fazed at what he's doing, and she's just eating her food and like, you go ahead and do what you have to do. She's not engaging with him. When they leave the party, she ends up getting a flat tire, and who shows up to help them but none other than the guy she was looking for earlier in the episode, Reggie, who is a hater of Nyjah. And also, if you don't recall, he is one of the people who sent that message about Marissa, that he was glad she was dead, back in episode 1. So she is basically hatching a plan in her mind to take him out. And that's what ends up happening. She goes back into his place after he's fixed their car, pretends that she has to go to the bathroom, and then she tries to run up on him, but he is like super big, super strong, so he tries to choke her out when in comes the 4 girls, and one of them shoots him with a gun. And while they're panicked over what to do with his body, Dre leaves the girls literally holding the bag. We see her again towards the end of the episode. She's alone in her car, and she's on the move again, and she is getting a text message from Marissa, and the text message says that they're just getting started. So this is the first of many killings that now she's going to do, having kind of somewhat internalized Marissa's identity as well as her own into one person or one being. This episode was entertaining. I don't think it was as strong as episode 1 in my opinion, but I think more and more we're getting the message that Marissa, that Dre's views on Nyjah and Marissa are kind of similar, that she views them as her sisters, and it is her job to protect them. And that even though Marissa's dead, she's not letting her go in the same way that she is not letting Naja go. She's still obsessed with her just as much as she is obsessed with Naja. They're one and the same. And Reggie's death signifies this. She was hunting Reggie down not only for his remarks on Naja, but because of what he said to her sister. In fact, she confesses her real name to him. She gives him the warning that she's there for more than just because her car broke down, but because she knows who he is and he should be concerned. And it means nothing to him. He doesn't recognize Marissa's name because he's just been this internet bully behind the screen, popping off the mouth at any woman who exuded power. And Marissa was just a faceless, nameless person to him. He doesn't remember any of that, which I think is just as signifying of like the parasocial dynamic as Dre does. The fact that you have these men like him who sit behind these computers and disparage women and don't have a concern or a care about it. Try to be seen as the good guy in real life, but are they really? And I think that's what Reggie's death kind of signifies. In terms of Sir and Haley's death, I really think Dre killed Sir as a way of releasing herself from Haley. I don't think she clocked that flag. I think we're supposed to clock that, like, it's kind of okay for us to be okay with his death because he's this horrible human being who is abusive toward his girlfriend, who just sits in his house lifting weights and not contributing to their lifestyle, and on top of it he's racist, right? So it gives us all the reason in the world to not mourn him, because it's very important that we see Dre as both the villain and the victim in the story, because she's the protagonist that we're following. Why else craft him as that is who he is if not to do that? But I don't think Dre cared about any of those things. I just think she killed him because when she saw Haley was laying in her bed, sleeping in her bed, snoring, she was not going to be able to shake that girl as long as she was using Dre as a crutch. So she was trying to release herself of being Haley's crutch. And when she saw that that wasn't going to happen, that Haley was still going to cling to her, talking about, we can be Thelma and Louise, that should take you back to me seeing what his truck reminded me of, the reference of the truck, because Beyonce and Lady Gaga had the video for Telephone where they were portraying a Thelma and Louise like character, and in that same truck from Kill Bill. And I think this wasn't supposed to be in a direct reference to it, but it was, I think, a subtle reference to it. But Dre doesn't want to do that. Dre is not going off the cliff with anyone. Even Marissa, she wasn't willing to die for her. She's willing to kill for these people. And I think that's a distinction. The stuff with Haley and like the colorism and her being half black, and then the reference to Halsey, I have thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. You know, I do think that it was just pointing out. I don't think that Dre was interacting with any of those things. I mean, of course, she questioned, oh, you're black? Like, in what world? You don't look at all black, right? Because she is very much white presenting now.
She's a white girl. And she's a beautiful white girl. She's a beautiful white girl, but she needs to stay real with herself.
I am not going to pull a Jocelyn. And I'm not going to say that Paris Jackson is not black. Nor would I say Halsey is not black. That is not for me to decide. However, they are definitely white presenting. There's a difference between white presenting and white passing. White passing means you move through the world intentionally disguising or hiding your ethnic background so that you can function effectively as a white person, as a means of escaping persecution, trials, tribulations, what have you. White presenting is, as you move through the world, people make the assumption that you are one thing or the other because your features do not align with what their preconceived notions are. Haley is white presenting, and being that she's Paris Jackson, that's an interesting choice to cast her, because they don't get into any of that. I think it's more of just a nod of the conversations that we're having. So I think this episode was great in seeing up until now, like with the start of with episode 1, episode 2, with the exception of Sir and Haley, Dre killing has been very intentional and highly personal. Killing people who not only disparaged Nyjah, but were integral in saying harmful things about her sister, Marissa. I think with that note that she got, or that she produced at the end of the episode, this is going to start the trend of only going after, or primarily going after, people for other reasons, more against people who are against Nyjah, because she's effectively, at least up until to a certain point, gotten rid of the people who had harmed her sister. But again, I go back to what I said earlier, which is I think that she is positioning Nyjah as part of this sisterhood, because this is someone who both she and Marissa idolized together, and her protecting Nyjah and going after people who harm Nyjah is a way of protecting Marissa in perhaps ways that she couldn't protect her in real life. That is what I think the show is doing as it pertains to just her actions. In terms of bigger messages, I'm going to leave that till we get to episode 7, because I think we have to understand the fullness of what we're seeing in order to understand that. But aside from the killings of Haley and Sir, which I think I still have questions about, let me know in the comments your theories about that. I think this episode was still good. The music, I didn't mention in the first video, but the music is just A1, top tier. Love it, love it, love it. Also, again, you're getting those notes of those bees every time Dre is about to kill, or that we know that we're going to be able to associate someone that she meets, because even with regards to Haley, we heard those bees earlier in her first kind of meet up with Haley. So definitely the foreshadowing is there. But I still enjoyed this episode. I still thought this episode was good. Not as good as the first episode, but still just as good. Dominique's acting, superb. But let me know down below in the comments what you thought of episode 2, and let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts are regarding the 3 killings that we witnessed in this episode. Why do you think Sir and Haley had to go? And I will see you guys in episode 3. Toodles.
Still white though.
There are people.
You say she's still white.
You say